So one of the ways I've built this box differently is that it's not been built into a base. So I do have a base for it, obviously, and it is going to have a base, but basically I had a base that is the right type for both the Brachacki Mark 1 and 2, but also I recently changed the files for the Brachacki Mark 1, so I completely redid them back when I built the 1:5 scale model a couple of months back. I mean, it's not a massively different thing, but when you see it, you kind of can't unsee the differences. But the point is, the size of the base was the same on the old one. So I'd built a base for a model that never happened, basically, and I was going to get around to building a Brachacki Mark 1 into it. But then, after I redid the plans for the 1:5 scale one, I was like, well, there's no point building an old one. I might as well have a go at building a new one. So I filled the grooves in on the base, which is here, and you can see that was the original colour. It was going to be like a pilot episode kind of vibe. That's what I was thinking of. But then I painted it to be the Brachacki Mark II base, and then I decided that I would be building the Mark 1. So I was like, right, I'll tweak things slightly so that the bottom of the panels don't have the teeth that lock into the base. But yeah, one of the benefits of that, getting back to the original point, is that I can access the bottom of the corner posts and the inside of the box, really, at that. But basically it means that I'll be able to weather the corner posts from the bottom. So that means any scuffs that are coming up or things like that, in a way that it's weathered differently from the base. Like, usually they'd be attached to the base, so you'd have to kind of mask it off, and even then it's not guaranteed that it would work, and you might have some sort of overlap. But with there being two separate pieces, it means I can weather this one way and then weather the base entirely differently, and then pair the two up, which it will look more authentic to the real thing. I'm not going to use locate. I mean, there probably will be some locating bars on it, but obviously they're not going to be ones that you can see outside the box, because this model didn't have any horizontal pieces on the bottom. They just go right flat like that on all four sides. I am quite pleased with how the doors turned out, because they've been very they're very flush to the bottom. So even when I've been putting it on the base or on this piece of plastic that I've been using, they've just sat really flush. Even when it's been on a flat surface, the doors have still swung freely. I mean, not loosely, but, you know, as free as you would want them to, without leaving much of a gap, which was the idea, because there isn't a gap on the original box from what I can work out. Or not deliberately anyway. It's pretty much flush. So that was nice to be able to get that right, because usually whichever model I'm building, you end up with a bit of friction. The bottom of the doors has to be shaved, like just a tiny bit, just for comfort. Yeah, not a problem this time. So I'm just painting from the bottom at the minute, for no real reason other than I can. But I figured I might as well paint those the bottom of the corner posts. Also slightly to take the chalky texture away where the filler's dried, because it's got a slightly chalky texture. and just give it a little bit of protection as well, because I don't want them to get too scuffed before I've had a chance to actually do that deliberately, because otherwise the scuffing might be a bit too heavy or not the right kind of vibe I'm going for. But yeah, there's no texture on this at all, and that is a massive factor on this model. The texture will like fundamentally change the look of it, so it's just getting a drink of this sort of base coat, which is really, this is the colour of the box. I said I was going to use a base coat of the other colour from the earlier coat, presumably, or it could even have been the original undercoat before it was painted for the pilot episode. But I haven't got that much of that paint, so I want to reserve it for, and just to remind you, that's this sort of colour. I want to reserve that for the parts where it is showing through, which is not much of it. Some of the sign boxes it shows through, and some of the corner posts it shows through, where it's been scuffed or whatever, shaved away, sanded back, or whatever it is they did to it. So yeah, it's getting a basic undercoat of this blue, and then it will be getting its weathering as soon as, because I'm kind of subconsciously putting that off as a thing that takes a lot of effort, because I've got to sit there and you're working with something it's like the polyfiller is very sort of gunky and wet, and then you've also got to be putting it on pretty precisely in the right place, and then you've got to make sure you're putting enough of it on, and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of considerations, but yeah, I'll be getting on with that this afternoon, I think, because it really needs to be done at this point. But the actual structure of the box, it's all there. Sign boxes are on. Just need a couple of horizontal strips to sit beneath the sign boxes, so just there, and then the same for the other sides. But other than those, the structure of the box, like the physical box, is all there. It's just a separate roof piece, obviously, but that's been worked on separately, and that's pretty much there too. So yeah, fun times.